the way I think of art is a creative expression of human beings expressing some sort of sentiment or thought they have about the experience of being a human being. So I think like art, if it's okay for me to just lay out just a little bit of what I take for granted, so like we have a common language. There are particular arts that involve craft, technique. But in art, it's saying, as humans, we celebrate the five senses, not just by how we experience them, but humans like to say things about the five senses. So for example, to eat something and enjoy something that's pleasurable because it's tasty is not art, it's an experience. But if a human being consciously wants to create an experience based on that and their sense of that, that's art. Like to write a novel, is to describe from a human's point of view the experience of being human in a particular context. So I think art is what humans have to say about being human, in short. That's what art is. Just like the Gemara says, Kishem shepartzufeim lo shavim zu lazu, kach da'ateim lo shavim zu lazu, or something like that, that God made multiple people because he could have done the whole thing with one person. Indeed, we started off with one human, made up of male and female. But I'm saying, why are we all necessary? Kishem shepartzufeim lo shavim zu lazu, kach da'ateim lo shavim zu lazu. That just like their faces, everybody's face is different. Even twins, identical twins, as they go through life, they don't look exactly the same. Just like everybody is different, also their minds, their dot, their awareness, their sense, their experience of reality is different. That's of tremendous value, I think. The Gemara says that that's a marvelous thing, but the way I understand why is because God is infinite, and God expresses himself through creation. The only way we can relate to God, and indeed we're supposed to, is God is bigger than creation, and we're creatures. So how do we relate to something beyond us? By trying to relate to him the way he expresses himself within this creation and modeling ourselves after that. Mahu afata. And so God expresses himself in a way through creation. If you want to get close to God, you have to engage him through the creation. God is infinite. So how does infinity express itself in a finite world, a finite creation? Through infinite variation. Each one of us is carrying an expression of God that nobody else can express. And that says a lot about the glory of God. But that means that each one of us and our sense of who we are and what this whole thing, that's an expression of God in the world that wouldn't exist otherwise. So for me, that means that part of this relationship between the Creator and the creation is that there's this need to express oneself. Just like God expresses himself in his creation, we can only express God by being true to what he invested in us. And if we each have a piece of God, so to speak, in our soul, or who we are, that can only be expressed through us in our story, then it's upon us to give that a voice. That's what God's doing when we do that. So that's how I see art.
Yes. Ein tzayar ke'elokeinu. The Gemara, the Talmud in Brachot says, it brings the pasuk, Ki mi Elohami baladei Hashem u'mi tzur zulati Eloheinu, which is from the Shira of Chana, if I remember correctly, where she's thankful for being blessed with the son Shmuel. And Chazal say, tzur is en tzayar ke'eloheinu, shetzar tzura betoch tzura. Like we just make an external shape, but God is able to make a shape within a shape. So that's a very nice connection. Tzur also means rock, it means strength. There's a nice play on words there. The concept of Yetzer as Yetzirah, as creativity, or you mentioned a creativity of the mind, a mindfulness, but the concept of Yetzer as creativity, the drive to create, is really what drives me. There's a verse which is explained in the Rabbeinu Bachye, where he says, "Kabed et Hashem mehonecha," which I think is from Mishlei, from Proverbs, because that's what he usually does. And he explains, Mimad dehenyecha, from those things which God had blessed you. With those things, you're supposed to honor God. So he says, if you're a singer, then if you have a good voice, you should be a singer. And by expressing that creativity that you have, you are serving God. And so on. If you have a good talent for writing, you should be a good scribe, and so on. Make a nice sefer Torah, whatever it is. So I just find that tapping into your creativity is part of our avodah. It's part of our mission. Whatever it is that your calling is, your creativity is, it's something that needs to be done. It's part of the definition of the world. It's Chazal says, Le'ovdo b'chol levavachem v'chol nafshechem, is b'shnei yetzarecha. You need to serve God with both of your inclinations, which we say, it's a very interesting way to look at it. I think it's Midrash Tanchuma explains that the verse in Bereshit which says, Vayar Elokim et kol asher asa ve'hineh tov me'od. God had observed everything that He made, and behold, it is very good. And the Midrash explains, Tov is Yetzer HaTov. It's the Tov. The word Tov simply means the good inclination. Tov me'od ze Yetzer Hara. That very good, extremely good, means the evil inclination. And that is a very counterintuitive idea to a world which has been saturated by, let's just say, Christian influences, where we look at bodily pleasures and desires as sinful, as evil. Because it's pointing out that these are the forces of creativity which drive the world. And so it's an innate part of who we are and what we are supposed to be doing, lechatchila, as we say. This is not like, okay, you have to succumb to it because you have this, and like creativity is the drive of being. It's self-expression, and so it's a very important thing to tap into that, to be sensitive to that, and to really do your best to express yourself with your Yetzer.